The grand Starfield discussion. Is it gonna be good or is it gonna be bad? Well, let's see.
We just got a bunch of news and updates around Starfield. Such as one, we're going to be seeing more about the game, but also a look into some of the recent fan frustrations with Starfield and its marketing. The big batch of news recently was around Gamescom. This is the biggest gaming convention in the world, and it's going to be taking place from August 23rd to 27th, so just a couple of weeks away. Xbox?
Well, I don't honestly think the biggest gaming convention in the world means anything nowadays. Most companies have completely just given up on this stuff and they do the in-house thing. They live stream their own stuff. So, the biggest gaming convention in the world, I honestly don't think matters. These things are a dying breed at this point.
Xbox and Bethesda are going to Gamescom in a pretty big way. It's described how they're going to have their biggest booth at the convention ever, as well as a 300-seat theater.
Ooh.
And Starfield will be shown here.
Okay.
Xbox describes attendees will be able to check out exclusive theater presentations from Bethesda Game Studios.
Wait a minute.
Xbox describes attendees will be able to check out exclusive theater presentations.
Okay, so whenever I talk negatively about Starfield, people say, oh, how can you hate this game? How can you dislike it? How can you not think it's gonna be... Because of this. You see this? Fallout New Vegas had better animation for spent shells. Okay? This is literally pixels. You can see pixels. And what's the best part? I can actually see fragmentation. Right there. Right here I can see fragmentation. It's like... In my honest opinion, Starfield is not going to be great. The best shot Starfield is going to be like Skyrim, but 10 years later, but somehow with the same bad graphics and same bad combat experience and everything like that. Not saying Skyrim's a bad game, by the way. It's a good game, but Bethesda fanboys way over-exaggerated. The average person played 5 hours of Skyrim and never touched the game again. That's the reality. The Bethesda fanboys are just very vocal about things. You know, this doesn't look good. I think worst case scenario, it's a Fallout 76 type of situation. Best case scenario, it's a Skyrim from 10 years later, but still the graphics aren't as bad. Like, we have seen gameplay footage. Okay. And I'm talking about the newest, what was like a month ago released, where you literally see the game and it's just a barren bunch of nothing. Starfield currently looks like the whole game looks like what you get in Fallout 76 when you go from objective to objective. There's maybe something at the side, but it's not really interesting. But that's the whole game. Okay?
Presentations from Bethesda Game Studios' highly anticipated Starfield. And they go on to describe how also in the theater there's going to be presentations around Forza Motorsport as well as Ara History Untold. Although, at least based off what we know right now, it seems like that's really it for Starfield at Gamescom. Xbox has described how there will also be hands-on for other games like Stalker 2, Payday 3, and even Phantom Liberty, but Starfield is not going to be a playable title at Gamescom 2023. And that's despite the...
I mean, of course it's not going to be a playable title. Why do you think Fallout 76 had all those embargoes? And by the way, for all of you who... Oh, Fallout 76 was not made by Bethesda, it was actually given to them. I'm sorry, did Bethesda not craft what Fallout 76 should be? Did Bethesda not have full creative oversight over the project? It did. It did. They had all the abilities to stop Fallout 76 as the disaster that it was at any point that they wanted. But they greenlit that effort like there was absolutely no tomorrow.
The fact that this event is taking place just a week before Starfield Early Access is meant to begin, and that lack of playability has definitely led to at least some pushback and concern in some corners of the community. But this Gamescom Starfield presentation is honestly pretty interesting, and I think we have a pretty good idea of what we could expect from it. Bethesda did something very similar for Fallout 4 back in 2015, where at that Gamescom they had this behind closed door showing of Fallout 4 gameplay, except somebody at this gameplay showcase secretly filmed it and ended up leaking the gameplay online. I know though, I'm not a huge fan of somebody leaking this gameplay online, what we can see is actually pretty awesome. And if you're going to Gamescom this year, you may be in store for something cool. Because if we look at the Fallout 4 gameplay, it largely looks to be unscripted. It's really just somebody playing some of the early parts of Fallout 4 in front of you. I've been to some events like this in the past, and a lot of times we'll do something really fun where the person that's playing the game will even ask the crowd what to do next. So there's some crowd input on what decisions are made early on, or whether or not to take out somebody or go a peaceful route. So when it comes to Gamescom 2023, I would expect something very similar for Starfield. Likely different sessions of somebody playing some of the early quests in the game in a 300-person theater with a bunch of people watching. But then of course is the big question of,
yeah, look at the impact of the bullets. It's just sad. They're just slumping over at one point dead, and that's it.
well, will you at home actually be able
I mean, again, I'm kind of talking negatively, but there are positives about Starfield, by the way. It's not, I'm not a blind hater, as some of you Bethesda nerds would absolutely love to say. But, you know, there are. I don't think currently, for example, the talent points look good, interesting at all. It looks like garbage, honestly. You know, it looks literally like the people who made Fallout 76 are now making the the talent point system for this game. But all in all, it is better than 76, at least. You have some more interesting, unique things. But at the same time, have we ever seen game footage when there's more than 2 enemies on screen? No. I think that's for a reason also.
to see this. And honestly, at this point, it's not entirely clear, but there's definitely some hope. They did say if you can't make it to Cologne this year, which is where
let's do it like this. This is going to be probably
where Gamescom is taking place, don't worry. We'll bring the Xbox booth directly to you with deep dives, gameplay, and developer interviews live streamed across 3 days of
boom! Clipping. It literally clips. I mean, it's cool it explodes, but that's like a 2-off thing. You're gonna see this like 3 times, and you're gonna be like, oh, well, that's cool. And now it's just clipping. Look at the graphics here. It's just this is not a modern game. Are you gonna tell me it's a modern game? No. You know why Bethesda became big? Because Oblivion came out, Morrowind came out, and for the time, those were literally groundbreaking games. Even when Skyrim came out, it was actually pretty much the only unique version of a game like this. But now this is coming out, and it's like, okay, are you better than Fallout 76? Well, that's not a tall order. That game's garbage. I played it like 2 or 3 months ago. Game's still literally ass.
Show. So at the very least, get subscribed. I will be going to Gamescom personally this year, and I will be trying to watch this Starfield presentation, and if permitted, I'll make a video on my thoughts on the gameplay. In addition, I also plan to play Stalker 2 and probably give my impressions of that as well. But I definitely do have some hope here. The way Gamescom is formatted, the first day is media only, but then each subsequent day is open to the public as long as you have tickets. It hasn't been specified whether or not this Starfield presentation is for media or fans, but I think it's likely going to be both. So I would expect a ton of impressions, perhaps even some videos from whatever is shown at this event. But even beyond that, there's a pretty good chance we're going to be getting some interviews. Starfield is really going to be the big thing. This is just going to be a couple of weeks before its official release date.
Like look at this inventory. Look at the weapons. Is there's some kind of magical comparison, I guess, between what you are currently using now and what you are hovering over, I think? The only thing they have displayed here are damage numbers, which means they feel like that's going to be the only thing that matters. I mean, there is a stealth system, there is an actual talking system. In that case, I do think Starfield's like pretty honestly solid. As long as you have stealth systems, sniper rifles, you have passivity options, and a lot of things like that, that's neat, but man, everything else is just like so dodgy, I'm not gonna lie, boys.
Going to be a couple of weeks before its official release date, so even if we can't play it at Gamescom, there'll likely be quite a few members from Bethesda, and perhaps even Todd Howard giving interviews sharing new details. And I wouldn't be shocked if we get a launch trailer here as well. Opening Night Live kicks off Gamescom at the night of August 20th.
Yeah, and by the way, just there, we saw animation overlap. What? Check this out.
Details. And I wouldn't be shocked if we get a launch trailer here as well.
Yeah. Animation reset overlap. He got shot, he was stuck in an animation, and then he got shot again, and the animation reset, and he was stuck in the other animation. Beautiful gameplay. You see? You see? And by the way, this is all of the gunk. Pre-rendered stuff, by the way. This is pre-rendered, pre-scripted, pre-everything. Because if you think any gaming studio is gonna show you actual gameplay footage like this in one of those hype things, I got a bridge to sell you, okay? Oh boy.
Gamescom at the night of August 23rd. It's hosted by Jeff Keighley, and this seems like a perfect opportunity for a new Starfield trailer to drop. One of the discussions to spin out of this is that fan concern over Starfield not being playable. Because if this early access period is beginning just a week later, why can't we play the game at Gamescom? Surely it's ready at this point. And although I could definitely dive deeper into the arguments on either side, I think the simple reality is that's just not what Bethesda does. You could look back to years upon years of different events and conventions, and Bethesda almost never has a hands-on opportunity for their games, specifically Bethesda Game Studios.
For a good reason.
Fallout 4 never really had a hands-on. It had a similar behind-closed-door showing, and although Fallout 76 did have a hands-on for one of its DLCs, that's obviously quite a bit different because it was a DLC, not the core game itself. If anything, Fallout 76 was largely the outlier. Got a preview event with a bunch of media getting hands-on, but Fallout 4 never got such an event, and that's really the other major data point, at least in recent history. So at least for me personally, Starfield not being hands-on at Gamescom isn't a red flag. It's just how Bethesda tends to do things. And at the very least, we are getting one Todd Howard interview probably pretty soon. Just recently, a New York Times reporter asked on Twitter for questions for Todd Howard. It turns out this is actually for an Esquire profile on Todd Howard's life overall, but it seems like this interview was already conducted and finished, so I wouldn't be shocked if we get it dropping in the next couple of days. But we also got some new game details just recently on Starfield. Jamie Mallory from the Starfield Direct is a producer at Bethesda Game Studios and recently had a profile posted by the company. They describe how the level of team collaboration on Starfield...
Wait, did you just pistol whip a T-Rex?
Level of team collaboration on
and it got stunned. By the way, in all of these cinematic, you know, I don't know what to call it. This is not cinematic, but this is not actual gameplay, right? This is 100% scripted, the best things that you could get. You can see every enemy is, by the way, staggering from every single nudge that you do and every single bullet. While in the actual gameplay that you can see, that's still toned up, the enemies don't even feel damage. They just slump over dead at one point. So which is it? Are some enemies just gonna not care that they're being shot? And are other enemies just gonna constantly tumble through damage animations until you get them down? Which is it gonna be? Because we haven't seen a middle ground.
Starfield is simply off the charts, particularly when it comes to the shipbuilder. We saw how Starfield is actually going to have a couple of different shipbuilders. One that's going to be more of a handhold, where you're replacing parts and it's a bit simpler, but then also a more in-depth shipbuilder that allows you to truly break down your spaceship and get into every individual piece. But here we could also hear from Jamie Mallory how there's perhaps more coming in the future. We get this massive list of exciting features we're looking forward to discussing and potentially...
This is cool, but... do you actually even see your spaceship all that often? Like, in a situation where this matters? Questionable. But it is cool.
Actually implementing in the future, but shh, I can't spill all the details here. This is pretty cool. It almost sounds like some of these systems of Starfield may see further expansion via some of the DLCs. I know I, for one, would definitely love a spaceship-themed DLC. It could add some cool things like new ship parts, but also a bunch of additional mechanics around spaceships that perhaps they didn't have enough time to finalize before release. All we've really heard about Starfield is how there is a mountain of content here, so you have to imagine there's a few things that were cut before release that will get expanded on in DLC. We also hear about how much of the current work on Starfield is being done around player optimizations. It seems like at this point most new features would be put on hold, and I wouldn't be shocked if there's even a decent-sized team working on the Elder Scrolls 6 already, right as Starfield is wrapping up. But we also hear a bit about faction quest lines.
Elder Scrolls 6 hype though.
It is described how Jamie Mallory has been really surprised by how varied different faction questlines are, and some players may even miss some of this content if you just stick to the main and core story. But if you do go off the beaten path, you're in store for a reward. The amount of content packed into these faction storylines is...
I'm gonna call this a blatant lie.
Truly astonishing. It's like embarking on a grand adventure within an adventure, where every choice you make and every interaction you have shapes the course of the tale. The character development, the plot twists, the moral dilemmas, I've been completely...
Character development, plot twists, and moral dilemmas. Character development, okay. Plot twists, not so much. You know, unbelievable. This is not. This is absolutely believable. How many plot twists did Skyrim have? None. How many plot twists did 76 have? None. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna have any.
Hooked. These quests offer a chance to delve deeper into the game's rich lore and uncover hidden gems that add layers of depth and excitement to the overall experience. And honestly, all of that sounds absolutely amazing to me. As of right now, this is one of the areas of Starfield we haven't seen all that much about. We get a brief overview and an introduction into some of the factions in Starfield, but story content hasn't really been marketed all that much. We don't know much of anything about what the main story will exactly entail, or even what kind of quests will be going on.
Which is sad, because the main story is probably going to be also... Fucking hell. Look at this. Look. The lasers are not coming out of the... I just can't. But anyway. Yeah, the main story is probably going to be the absolute best part of this game, hopefully. That's like the saving grace, the main story, that the main story of Starfield is going to be awesome. But I don't know if that's happening.
Considering the game has over 250,000 lines of dialogue, there's certainly going to be a lot of questing and a lot of talking. Many of you probably know Jamie Mallory, as she was prominently featured in the Starfield Direct for her animal-themed ships, as well as her sandwich-stealing antics. But also in this interview, it was confirmed that Jamie Mallory created a sandwich-themed spaceship known as the Griller. Starfield also just recently got the Xbox Play Anywhere label, which is pretty exciting. This basically means that if you do buy it on the Microsoft Store, you'll be able to play it on either PC or Xbox. That one purchase will carry over to both platforms, as well as your progress will be carried over with it. Your save data will be automatically transferred, so you can seamlessly transition from a console to your PC. As well as even some of the achievements have started to pop up for Starfield. This image has been floating around showing Starfield as having 50 achievements. And although I wasn't able to fully verify this is legit, on one hand, it's probably...
I don't think achievements matter.
...a safe bet. But even further, this popped up shortly after achievement languages were added to Starfield on SteamDB, so there's a pretty good chance this is real. But overall, right now, we find ourselves in an odd spot for Starfield. The game comes out in just 27 days, at least for early access. Marketing has been surprisingly quiet. We had the Starfield Direct, which was massive.
Marketing doesn't need to be loud. Like, do you think when GTA 6 is just like 2 years until release, every single person in the world is gonna know that GTA 6 is just 2 years from release. Because it's such a big deal. Bethesda is one of those publishers. Everyone knows what EA is publishing from their, actual big titles, what Blizzard is publishing, what Bethesda is publishing. Everyone knows that. You don't need marketing. Everyone who needs to know about this already knows. And the people who should know about this will know in time. We live in the internet age. There's gonna be people tweeting about it, YouTubers making videos about it, people talking about Spotify podcasts on about it. It's literally gonna be unmissable unless you live under a rock. Like, literally, by the way. That you live in some kind of decrepit cave with no electricity. That's the only way you will not hear about these things.
Then a couple of smaller videos, but otherwise it's relatively been quiet. At this point, it seems unlikely that hands-on previews from media are happening. Fallout 76 had this big event where media got 3 hours of unrestricted access to that game, but as of right now, it seems like something similar will not be happening for Starfield, or at the very least, it'll be much smaller scale. I wouldn't be shocked if one major outlet gets a preview a couple of weeks before release, like IGN or Game Informer, but honestly, Starfield not having huge media hands-on impressions isn't that crazy either. Although it was big...
Was that supposed to be like hype?
For Fallout 76, it wasn't a thing at all for Fallout 4. As it stands right now, there are 2 major points that we may see updates for Starfield. QuakeCon is just around the corner, but then also, of course, we are definitely getting new details at Gamescom, so you can look forward to that. There definitely have been fan frustrations over the lack of marketing, but I do kind of ask, what else do you need to see?
Like, I don't understand Bethesda fans. Like, seriously, you're gonna get frustrated over marketing? Why? Why? Get frustrated about the game being 10 years into the past.
The Direct was massive. We got 50 minutes of new Starfield content.
And about the fact, I didn't even touch on the fact that this shit is supposed to be almost 100% procedurally generated except a couple of parts of it. Which is, by the way, a complete death sentence. Again, This game is gonna not currently from estimates and what I have seen from the actual gameplay. There's nothing to do in this game. Every single time they have a screen, it's either some kind of outpost with pirates or some crap that's literally very boring, or alternatively, it's like a barren planet with nothing. With just you can just see fields of nothing. And that's gonna be the game. Starfield currently seems more like the gameplay is gonna be 95% what you get between going from objective to objective and Fallout 76. Maybe maybe there's a dumpster on the side that you want to go dive into, and that's pretty much it.
Just a singular day. Something like that likely took months upon months of work to accomplish, so it's not that crazy to me that they've been relatively quiet in the aftermath of that.
The space fights seem kind of good from the shots, but I doubt that's real. Because Bethesda's combat is not exactly known to be the most engaging shit in the world. Unless you're literally trying to be like a stealth sniper, which I think actually they on accident have achieved very good. I enjoy being a stealth sniper in every Bethesda game. Like, absolutely, it's good. But I think that's more of an accident than anything else.
If we get any more gameplay trailers or even demos, they're likely going to pale in comparison to the Starfield Direct anyway, so I think largely what we're going to be waiting on now are reviews and for people outside of Bethesda to get their hands on or really see the game for themselves. But even that's a bit of an unknown. Bethesda hasn't always had the best review policies, and I wouldn't be shocked if people only get access to Starfield about 72 hours before the early access. Nothing has been confirmed thus far on that front, at least not to me.
And even that's gonna be embargo.
But it'll definitely be interesting to see how things are handled with Starfield reviews, especially with how massive of a game this is shaping up to be.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. There you go. That's your game. Oh, you explored the planet. It's gonna be amazing. Oh, do you want to look at that rock? Or maybe this rock right here? Oh, no, maybe this rock. There's two rocks over here. Again, see, this is the biggest problem with Starfield. Because it's procedurally generated. Nothing procedurally generated has been ever good in gaming currently. Almost nothing. There are very, very few exceptions where procedurally generated has ended up good.
Massive of a game this is shaping up to be. That's the recent updates on Starfield. Again, get subscribed so you can check out some of my Gamescom coverage, but also check out this rumor on a potential Bethesda Game Studios remake that is coming very soon.
Ooh, cool. Well, anyway, Juice Head. Wow. Well, this was Squizzer Said. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye. Leave in the comments why am I so... Because it's going to be Starfield fanboys. Like, oh, the game's awesome. You still don't understand anything. Okay, Chief. Okay, relax.